You said that when you go to chemistry school, you became more alert. You may wake up, your spirit wake up, and you became a more human being. That's your character is built in a school. Classical studies, we must know Medew Netcher. You see, maybe in the future we need to know some heretic too. We need to know Medew Netcher. Achievement in Kemet for me is education. The way they think, they build, and they practice their education is very unique in history. Without education, I believe there will be no Kemet.
Peace, ETM Hotep. This is your brother Wujao Meneberi Ma'at, and you're tuned into the Sesh channel. And it's definitely a late one. Today is Saturday. Well, actually, it's Sunday. Technically, it's Sunday, May 8th on the East Coast, but I guess for most people, it's still Saturday. So it's late Saturday, early Sunday morning. And this is definitely a late pull up on you, drive by session. So, what brings us to this session for tonight? Shout out to anybody who's watching, but I know it's late, so I don't really anticipate people to be up and about and ready to get it in. So I mainly want to do this video for the archive, just to have it and get people to watch it on the replay, so we can learn something. But so tonight's topic is, of course, as it says, welcome to the Sebaytdome, answering some questions from Sister Tiffany French. So just very quickly give some context to why I'm live and doing this video. Is number one, the Sebaytdome is a series of videos that it has the word Seba or Sebayt, which is education or information or instructions. And the Sebaytdome is a play on the Thunderdome from the movie Mad Max, Welcome to the Thunderdome, or something like that. I know Public Enemy had Welcome to the Terror Dome. And so we just did a play on that word, Sebaytdome. It's a place or an environment or a series of videos where we, address questions and different things dealing with Kemet, ancient Egypt. So anyway, the reason why I'm doing this live now and you all watching the archive is I just so happened, well, not just so happened, but someone had forwarded me a link to the Sister Tiffany's video that she recently did, and I'm just going to share that because there's some questions people asked in the comment section of her video that I wanted to maybe comment myself on. But she did a video asking me some questions, and but I didn't know about it at all until actually maybe 40 minutes ago. Had no idea that the questions were that she asked questions, and so I listened to about 40 minutes of the video because I clicked on a link about 40 minutes ago. So I took a bit of time to listen to the video. Now her video is longer than 40 minutes, but I watched enough to where I answered some of her questions, and any of the other ones that I did not see, maybe if I have time, I'll address those in another video. But what I got from her video and her questions is something that I want to emphasize and point out, that I feel that asking questions is definitely a beneficial part of the learning process. I mean, it's a must to ask questions and to be inquisitive and to be curious and so on and so forth, to investigate and to check things out and everything like that. So that is an absolute must and should be encouraged. But what I noticed from listening to her line of questioning and how she asked the questions, what I've seen over the years as well is that this environment that's been created, called the conscious community, by whatever name people call it, it's been created into an environment of combativeness and adversarialism, where it's not just like a team effort in trying to seek knowledge or information. It's set up to fight and to fuss and things like that, especially when it's completely unnecessary. And so shout out to the Sister Tiffany. I had a chance to meet her a while back, some years back, at a conference and everything. And so I don't know her, but I met her before, and I'm familiar with her online, and I've had a conversation with her, even one-on-one, and I think it was on her channel, her Facebook, or my Facebook. I don't know, but I've had a one-on-one conversation with her live, a one-on-one live conversation with her, So I'm always open for stuff like that, but I'm just pointing out that I think her way she acts and her line of questioning is along the lines of the same old combative adversarial aspect of things, and I'm gonna show it in a second because everything that I heard that she asks has been addressed, answered for years, even by me on a regular basis, like very often. So I was kind of shocked at what she brought up, but I'm gonna go through it real quick and address it. All right, so just want to address her questions, and I think that anybody else that may have had the same questions can benefit from this. All right, so without taking too long, I know it's late. So let me just jump in, and like I said, this is definitely pretty much ad hoc because like I said, someone gave me the link about 45 minutes ago now, 45 minutes ago, and I took that time to listen to her video, watch her video. So I watched about 35 minutes of it, 40 minutes of it, and it got to a point where I could stop, and then I'll just answer all her questions. So give me a moment. And shout out to everybody who's watching and up this late Saturday night. Y'all could be asleep or out doing anything. So I appreciate that right now. But let me load up her video because I would rather play her video instead of taking time to pull out quotes that she's saying and stuff like that's take too much time, and I don't want to eat up the time. All right, so give me a moment here. See if I can actually do this very quickly, as quick as I can. I should be able to do it. And so again, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up her video and just let her speak, and then I'll just pause it and address what she's asking. Pause it, address what she's asking. So I'll do that for the amount of her video that I watched. All right, I can't speak for what I didn't see, and I can't answer any of her questions that I didn't hear. All right, so I'm just gonna go question for question, and deal with it. All right, so let us begin with that. And again, shout out to everybody who's watching real late, this late, live. All right, let's see if I can get this going. So now what I will need from you all is I'm gonna hit play, and if by chance you can't hear the audio or something in the chat, please let me know. All right, so I'm gonna hit play and we're just gonna jump on in. All right, hold up. I do not want to play any music that she's playing, so let me try to forward it a bit. Okay, I think that's where and it's not gonna let me scrub, fine tune scrub, so it's gonna jump. So hopefully this will begin where she's talking, and it'll give us some context.
People like Brother Asar Imhotep and Brother Wujau. Okay.
Well, first of all, with that little bit, can somebody please let me know if you can hear the audio? I would hate to play this and it's not even working. So somebody do me that favor. First person that says you can hear it, then we're going to keep it moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Anybody in the chat. Help a brother out. Help a brother out. Did you all hear a little bit of what she was saying? Okay, I got it. Sounds good. All right, cool. So we're gonna keep it going. Now again, so let me make a disclaimer, because I know how this social community, conscious community, circus community, as I call it, I know how it is. I know how people behave, and because I have her on the screen, somebody is going to go run to her and say, "See, Wujau was over on his channel. He did a video about you and talking about you and this and that." And for that, whoever's going to do that, shame on you. But I'm going to put this disclaimer. Shout out to the Sister Tiffany French. This video is addressing her questions that she did. As a matter of fact, before I even show her video, I should do this. I should do this. Okay, so this is her channel. This is a live shot of her channel. I mean, the live shot meaning current. This is her channel right now. Y'all can see my cursor. This is her channel. It's Tiffany French. I'm gonna have it paused at 15 minutes or whatever. You can see where the timestamp is right here. But this is her channel. So look at what she titled it. She says, "Dear Wujau, Asar, Seshu Ma'a, and scholars." And then she asked her question, what about the phases of ancient Egyptian language? So I guess that's her primary question. And that's cool. I have no problem. I didn't know that she did this video. Like I said, someone forwarded me the link about 50 minutes ago now, because I've been talking, but about 50 minutes ago. And so, I just played a bit, and this is what I'm addressing. So I'm addressing her video. And yes, it's her video. Let me scrub through it so you can see that's her talking, and so on and so forth. All right. So this video live now, let me take this off the screen. This video live now that you're watching is me addressing or answering her question. So anybody who attempts to put a battery in this sister's back or do that stuff, shame on you. I can't control that or whatever the case is, but hey, to each his own. All right, so shout out to the Sister Tiffany in any case. All right, so I'm going to jump in. So I'm going to play her video, and I'm going to pause it time to time and answer her questions. So here we go.
Because these guys claim to be scholars of Medew. They know about the language, right? But my question is particularly for Mr. Wujao. Because, see, I seen something. I saw something. I was watching.
See, but listen, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to give some commentary because she's funny in this video. She said she saw something. It's like she got something good. Like, I saw something. You know, like she got something or something. And that made me laugh. But anyway, I'm not going to do that much. But I'm going to pause it every now and then.
You was on Smash Rockwell, Brother Jonathan Owens, which I was surprised he got a channel. But anyways, I have a question for the guys out there. Oh my goodness. So Wujao said appeal to authority? Appeal to authority how? That's what you were telling the other guy. He was appealing to authority when he was interrogating you. Okay.
All right, so I have to pause it there. So this is the first point that I'm going to touch on. Now, just to give you all some context of what she's talking about, about 5 days ago now, or whatever, I was on Smash Rockwell's channel briefly, and it was Smash and a brother named Shaka Ndugu Kemet, who now goes by the name of Ma'at Forever on YouTube. And the thing that she's talking about, Tiffany's talking about, is at a point in the conversation, I was telling the brother Shaka that he is violating a logical fallacy called appeal to authority. And now she says that I said that to him when he was interrogating me. And I don't know what she could possibly mean by that, because the brother wasn't interrogating me at all, asking me, interrogations when they ask you a rapid fire succession of questions, or asking you a bunch of questions. The brother wasn't asking me a bunch of questions. We were having a conversation, and he was actually appealing to authority, and I pointed that out to him, and that's what she's bringing up. All right, so just so everybody's on the same page with what appeal to authority is, I want to address that real quick. All right, so, and by the way, I did an entire video 2 years ago on, and this is an image. Hopefully y'all can see that. Now, what you all are looking at is some of the videos in our archive on this channel right now that you're watching, the Sesh channel. All right, so if you scroll down, you'll see these video archives, right? Let me get my cursor here, my arrow. So as you can see, this video right here was done 2 years ago, and it's called Appeal to Authority versus Defer to Authority. What's the difference? That's the title of the video. And I would encourage everybody to check it out if you want more information about the difference between the two. Okay, so I'm only pointing this out because I've dealt with the logical fallacy of appeal to authority and the defer to authority. Which one is a logical fallacy? Which one's not? Which one should we do? Which one should we stay away from? And the whole nine. All right. So I'm pointing that out. So Miss Tiffany, not Miss Tiffany, excuse me, because there's another sister named Miss Tiffany, and I don't want to confuse this Tiffany with Miss Tiffany. So excuse me for that. But Sister Tiffany, when you see this video, when it comes to appeal to authority, please check out our older video from 2020 where I deal with appeal to authority and defer to authority, and then go back and you can watch my dialogue with the brother Shaka and actually see if he's guilty of appealing to authority or not. You can make up your own mind on that. All right. So I just wanted to point that out. But let me give you all a short and skinny of what it is, what appeal to authority is. Appeal to authority is a logical fallacy, as I said. And, you all can watch the video, but I'm just going to give you all a short and skinny of it. And I'm going to read this very quick description of what appeal to authority is. It's also known argument from authority. All right. And here's the description of it. It is insisting that a claim is true simply because a valid authority or expert on the issue said it was true, without any other supporting evidence offered. All right. Now here's the logical form of it. According to person one, who is an expert on the issue of Y is true. Therefore, Y is true. Y'all see that? And so here's an actual example. Richard Dawkins, an evolutionary biologist and perhaps the foremost expert in the field, says that evolution is true. Therefore, it's true. So you see that? Appealing to authority in short terms, or simple as possible, is just because an expert says something, it must be true. And that's a violation of a logical fallacy, because experts, like all of us, can be wrong. And just because they are an expert or an authority in any given field does not make them bulletproof or exempt from being wrong in any form or fashion. So on the strength of them being an authority does not make whatever they say automatically by default all wise, right, and exact. All right. And when people argue a claim or make a claim and then cite an authority as if just because the authority said so, their claim must be true, that is the exact violation of appeal to authority. And you don't want to do that. Stay away from that. And that's different from deferring to an authority. Deferring to authority is perfectly fine, and it's something that we all do. And we have to, because we're not experts at everything. So we have to lean on experts, but not in the sense that the expert, whatever the expert says, because they're an expert, it must be true. No, it's because an expert, by definition, is a person focused on or have a concentration or focus on a certain range of material that they have tenure and study in. And therefore you would defer to that person. But it doesn't mean that person is all wise, right, and exact, or accurate. All right. So you can't argue from authority, aka appeal to authority, but we can defer to them, to the authorities. In other words, the buck doesn't stop with authorities. All right. So anyway, just wanted to cover that. All right. So we're gonna keep it moving. Let the video play some more.
And also, you say Afro-Asiatic is not in the language family.
Okay, first let me say that she's misquoting me, but it's all right. Because I'm here to straighten that out. I don't say what she says, and maybe that's how she hears the statements. Afro-Asiatic, anybody that is familiar with Afro-Asiatic knows it's a language phyla. It's a large container for a subset of languages. All right, so just to clear that up.
And what about the phases of the ancient Egyptian language?
Okay, see, but this is what I meant earlier when the manner in which she's asking these questions and doing the sound effects, and this and that, is indicative of this combative adversarial environment that I always point out. I've been pointing out for years. That's not fruitful. That's not conducive for growth in information. It's to me, it's detrimental. And so I see it all the time. I don't agree with it. I don't condone it. I am actually adamantly against it unapologetically. I'm all for learning environments. I'm all for growing in knowledge and expanding, where we can team up and do research and find answers to problems and questions. And we can find solutions and answers to those. That's what I'm about. And that's what I advocate. So her style of questioning, I'm not for it, but I can address it still. So we're gonna keep on going. She asked about the phase of the language. She mentioned Afro-Asiatic, and she asked about the phase of the language. So I'm gonna let it play, and then I'll explain.
Oh, there's so many questions that I got to ask. I must ask these questions. And as a matter of fact, I do have sources, okay? I have sources.
Okay, and she says she has sources, and I want to pause here to point something else out about that since she brought it up. Sources. I noticed that on the YouTube streets and in Facebook and in the circus community, that people say sources or cite sources and cite sources. That's become the new buzzword. It's not new, but it's fairly new. People have been saying, okay, what's your source? Cite your source. Cite your source. And as if that is something that's an accomplishment, and it is not. Citing sources is always a good thing, but the way people are using it is in a wrong way. They're misusing that, citing sources. Just because people can click a button and share their screen does not mean that whatever they share is an actual demonstration in support of their claim. I've seen many people share their screen and share sources that actually say the opposite of what they're trying to claim. I've seen that occasionally. Also, I've seen people where they cite a source and share that source that not only, well, in one instance, the source may speak against what they're saying, which means they misunderstood it, or the source that they're citing doesn't say what they think it's saying. I've seen that as well. And then, of course, I've seen people cite sources in the appropriate way. So I've seen all of the above. And my point here is that just because someone has a source, it's not the end all be all as some people will make it out to be. And you're going to kind of see this in a few minutes.
See, don't think I'm slipping now, because I ain't slipping. Okay? But check this out.
But I do want to say, though, that the fact that more people are making attempts to cite or citing sources, that's a sign in the right direction, of course. So I don't want to sound like I'm saying people shouldn't cite sources. It's quite the opposite. I feel people should, but we need to use them for what they really are and how they function in arguments. But people use it like, I got a source. It's almost like appeal to authority again. They're almost using it in that sense, and that's just not how this works. All right.
Check this out, though. I got sources. All right, so Mr. Wujau and all you other Medew scholars out there, or sorry, Imhotep, everybody else that's out there. So I have a question. Okay, let's talk about the phases of the ancient Egyptian languages. All right. Have you taught this to your students or people that are paying for your classes about the phases of the ancient Egyptian languages?
Okay, let me pause right there because she asked a straightforward question. And Sister Tiffany, when you see this video, I'm going to answer you straightforward. The answer is yes, I do. I did, I do, and I will continue to teach people about what scholars call the 5 phases of the ancient Egyptian language. This is something that anybody who teaches the ancient Egyptian language actually mentions and teaches to everybody. It is pretty much common knowledge. It's pretty much the standard that is brought up in any teaching environment dealing with the ancient Egyptian language, and I am no exception. So the answer is yes, and I do it very often. Every time someone enrolls in a class with me, they will learn about the 5 phases of the ancient Egyptian language and all of the writing scripts that scholars divide the writing system into. All of that is taught. So I talk about it, teach it. We even have videos on this channel about that as well. All right, we talk about simplified, what we call simplified Sesh Netcher. We compare what they call hieratic to the formal hieroglyphic pictorial script. We do comparisons. We use the Papyrus Prissy, aka the Maxims of Ptah-hotep. We show that. We show how to transcribe it. We actually show how to use software in producing the glyphs, and so on and so forth. So the answer is definitely yes. All right, and I've been doing it ever since day one. Since I've been teaching. Just by the way, I've been teaching this language. I've been teaching the language for over 10 years. All right, I've been doing it face to face. I've started out face to face, in person classes, and then I stopped doing that and I started doing it online, strictly online. I was doing face to face only. Then I was doing both face to face and online, and then I phased into just doing it online. All right, and this was even before COVID, But the pandemic definitely would have. If I wasn't doing it before, the pandemic would have definitely forced me to just be strictly online, and so on and so forth. So anyway, but the answer is yes. All right. So I've been teaching that for over 10 years. I've been teaching about the phases for over 10 years. All right. As a matter of fact, okay, before you move on, let me just share my screen again with that. So I want to show about the phases. Let me see if I can get this on the screen for you all. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to do a brief rundown. Now, when I hit play, she's going to talk more and more about it, but I'm going to just go ahead and answer it fully now, get it out the way for you all who are watching. All right, let me get this up here on the screen as fast as I possibly can. Y'all know I don't like that awkward silence, so I'm going to be as fast as I can. I'm looking for my notes from classes. I mean, I go over so much that I have several, and why don't I see it? I have several instances of talking about it. I'm just trying to find one I can share on the screen. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, here we go. Right here in front of me. Okay, so I'm gonna share this with you all. This is part of the texts and lessons that people get pretty much from everybody, but this is specifically from me. So I know y'all can see on the screen here. This is in a section of the textbook. Now, by the way, just so you all know, just as a kind of shameless plug as well, I will be publishing a full ancient Egyptian grammar. All right, and I do have a actual proof copy of the book, but I'm by no means finished with it. I got a copy of the book done as it was before the pandemic, actually. So I'm way behind on my goal of having it published, but I do intend on having it published this year. That's my goal, so I'm working towards right now. But in that book, I'm going to combine a beginner's level, introductory level, as well as the advanced grammar, all in one. All right. But anyway, so in this section of the textbook, it talks about, or I talk about the spoken language. So this is a section on the spoken language. And in here, just like everybody else does, I go over what scholars call the phases. So let me back up here. What scholars call the phases of the language. So I'll just read here so y'all can see this. It says there are generally two differing views among scholars as to the affinities and characteristics of the language. On one hand, Egyptologists have traditionally viewed Kemet as a monolingual nation whose language was spoken and written for approximately 4 millennia and evolved through continuous stages or phases, summarily referred to as Egyptian. When it comes to its language family, this view and other factors have influenced many scholars to classify Egyptian as a member of the Afro-Asiatic language phylum, sharing features with other languages of the phylum. The Afro-Asiatic language phylum includes subgroups of Semitic, Egyptian, Cushitic, Berber, and Chadic. Semitic includes languages of Akkadian, Arabic, Aramaic, Hebrew, and Phoenician. Cushitic is represented by several languages in Ethiopia and Somali. Berber is found in North Africa, and Chadic in northern Central Africa. And then I quote James P. Allen, where he makes the statement there. I also quote Sir Alan Gardner on the same issue where he makes the statement there. And you all can freeze this and read it. I'm just not going to read it to you. I continue with Gardner's statement there. And then James Hodge. I quote James Hodge and his statement there. Now, the reason why I quote those three scholars is to show that they are in agreement, but there's something up with that, and scholars admit it, and so you can read it. Matter of fact, let me read you what Gardner says. In spite of these resemblances, Egyptian differs from all Semitic tongues a good deal more than any one of them differs from any other, and at least until its relationship to the African language is more closely defined, and that's important. Until its relationship to the African languages is more closely defined, Egyptian must certainly be classified as standing out outside the Semitic group. So a lot of scholars who repeat this, but haven't done the actual work, they simply repeat the same thing over and over again from scholar to scholar. But they do understand that work still needs to be done in the comparison with African languages, as Gardner says. And even James Hodge, right? Wallace Budge and Hodge, but in this case, Hodge, he admits, he says, there are also cognates with many modern African languages, speaking about the Egyptian language now. But these, and he admits it, but these have not yet been studied as thoroughly, and in any case are more difficult to compare given the large gap in time. So they're admitting that the work hasn't been done not as thoroughly as it should to come to any of these conclusions, but based on what they know now, they classify it the way they do. All right, but anyway, my point is to answer Tiffany's question, which I definitely go over all of this in classes, and anybody who has ever taken my class for the past 10 or so years will definitely tell you this. But to continue, with a monolingual view of Kemet and its tenure of 4,000 years, it seems quite natural for scholars to describe distinctions in the language as changes of a single language, therefore dividing it into the following what? Phases. And this is what Tiffany's asking about, the phases. She asked me, do I teach it? And as you all can see, I most certainly do. And I have a chart that was broken up by the page break, but this chart in the left corner column are the phases. So we have Old Egyptian, we have Middle Egyptian, we have Late Egyptian, then we have Demotic, and then we have Coptic. Okay, and so what I do is I take 4 scholars and quote the date range that they give to each phase. So this is out of Gardner's work, his 2007 work. He gives Old Egyptian this time frame. Loprieno gives Old Egyptian this time frame. Hodge gives it this time frame, and Allen gives it this time frame. That way readers can compare and see that all four of these scholars are not in exact agreement when it comes to a time range, but they're close. All right. Allen gives the most difference out of the other three. Okay, that's for Old Egyptian. So the same thing with Middle Egyptian. I quote the date range for all these. So I'm not gonna read this to y'all, but you all can see it on the screen, right? So again, most definitely, Tiffany, I do teach this and always have. All right, but to continue, because this is where you all can probably get some nuggets to take away from this. I continue to say, although the dates given to each phase overlap and vary among scholars, the general outline is as follows. So I basically give the outline. So we have Old Egyptian, which is the name given to the phase of the language from the first dynasty to the 8th dynasty, and roughly the Old Kingdom. Okay. Now, I also inform the readers that some scholars further divide Old Egyptian into archaic and then Old Egyptian proper. Okay, so they further divide it. Some scholars do that, some don't. Not too many do, just as an FYI. Then we go to Middle Egyptian, and this is the date range, and it's mainly for the Middle Kingdom. And the Middle Egyptian vernacular extended beyond this time range and became known by scholars as Classical Egyptian, because although the major language went through a shift, Middle Egyptian continued to be used in literary work, religious work, and so on and so forth, as far as the underlying language of a lot of texts. That's why people study Middle Egyptian. This is the main area of study for anyone who wants to learn ancient Egyptian language, because all the text, most of the texts that we talk about are written in Middle Egyptian. All right. Then you have a major shift. So just as an FYI, Old Egyptian and Middle Egyptian are very, very closely related. Then you have Late Egyptian, Demotic, and Coptic. And it's between Middle Egyptian and Late Egyptian where a bigger shift in the language takes place. And I say shift loosely because that's how scholars describe it, as continuation of phases, but it's actually not. All right. Old Egyptian and Middle Egyptian come from one set of languages. Late Egyptian, Demotic, and Coptic come from another. And the research and the linguistic work that's being done since the 1960s is bearing that out, and books are coming out. Revealing that information. But nevertheless, we have Late Egyptian, we have Demotic, and then we have Coptic. All right. Now I further go on and lump them as they should be. So to simplify, scholars group these 5 phases into 2 major diachronic divisions. One, the first division is earlier Egyptian, and this is what I like to call it, earlier Egyptian, because earlier Egyptian is made up of Old and Middle Egyptian, and it is referred to as a synthetic phase of the language. It has synthetic features. All right, not synthetic as in fake, like people say synthetic material. They use that to mean fake material. No, synthetic is a linguistic term for the type of how the morphemes surface or are realized. And I don't want to get too technical right now, but I'm going to show an example in a second. Then you have the next major division, which is later Egyptian. So for me, I teach everybody all the phases as you can find in all of the scholarly works, but I simplify it by grouping them based on the information on the ground as it is now. That we have 2 major language phases in ancient Egypt: the earlier Egyptian phase and the later Egyptian. All right, later Egyptian would be Late Egyptian, Demotic, and Coptic, and this is characterized as an analytic phase. Okay, analytic as opposed to synthetic. Now, without reading all of this, which I explained the analytic and synthetic, I'm just going to jump to the examples of the two. So if I were to say the river was deeper than I expected, that's an example of synthetic. Okay. If I say the river was more deep than I expected, it is analytic. And the short and skinny of it is that instead of having a morpheme of what's called a comparative morpheme added to the end of the lexeme deep, and I put deeper, I actually have a totally separate functional word, more deep, which is a separate word from deep. So a synthetic, a language characteristic of being synthetic has a lot of affixes to it that changes the dynamic of words, whereas an analytical language has a lot of separated words that will function, that will have grammatical functions, and change the word classes and so on and so forth. All right, just to give y'all an idea of what the difference between that. And so it's because of these characteristics right here between synthetic and analytic. This is why we can group Old and Middle Egyptian together, and then all the other three together. All right. And let me give you a RanyKemet example. In later Egyptian, anybody who does a Google search or cursory study will know that later Egyptian included what's called definite articles, pa and ta. You'll have pa Kemet or pa Majat, which would be the book, just to give you an example out of the top of my head. Those are definite article. Pa would be the masculine definite article, the, and ta would be the feminine masculine article, feminine definite article, the. In Middle Egyptian, it didn't exist. Old Egyptian or the earlier Egyptian, those definite articles didn't exist. Definite and indefinite articles were simply implied. All right, they didn't have a realization in the language. All right, so let's just give you an example. All right, so I think I spoke enough about this. Matter of fact, I even quote Antonio Lopriano when he even goes over this, when he talks about, for example, ta Netcheret, which will have the definite article ta that I mentioned, the goddess, or you have na Netcheru, which would be the plural, the gods, plural, etc., etc. All right. So anyway, I don't know why my Siri just activated. I must have said something. Okay, so that's enough of that. All right. So hopefully you all got some takeaways from that. And Tiffany, if you're watching this, hopefully that was thorough enough answer for you and convincing enough to answer your question of, do I teach it? So yes, the answer is yes. I always have, and everybody does. It's definitely common knowledge. All right, so let me take that off the screen and get back to Sister Tiffany, and let's keep it going.
And if so, let me start with my first source right here, okay? And it's not a Wikipedia source, all right? So I don't want y'all saying that I'm using Wikipedia, okay?
Now I'm going to tell you all, everything she's about to share is going to be everything I already said. And everything that I already teach, I've been teaching for over 10 years, all right? And this is what I mean by the kind of character in how she's asked this question for me. She's asking it with the underlying assumption that I don't teach this, so for some reason. And then she says she has sources as if she's trying to prove something to me. And that's the part that I don't get. Or I feel is unnecessary. It's totally unnecessary, because if she asks me, do I teach it, and I answer her yes, then everything she's about to show right now is unnecessary. She could have saved her time, because I already know this. Number one, I teach it, and then there's people who have taken my class that can probably spit this from memory. Because this is common. The 5 phases of the language is very common. So she's about to go through her source, which is from the University of Chicago, and say everything I just said. But so I'm gonna let it play though. I'm gonna let it play. I might skip through it, but I'm gonna let it play.
But you can find this on Wikipedia as well. But check this out right here. This comes from Near Eastern Languages and Civilization, right? From the University of Chicago. This comes from the University of Chicago. This ain't come from Tiffany's mouth, all right? So it says Ancient Egyptian Language Program. This is what they have at the University of Chicago. Check this out. The ancient Egyptian language is attested in Egypt for over 4,000 years. From the appearance of hieroglyphic writings around 3200 BCE until it was gradually replaced by Arabic after the Arab conquest of Egypt in 641 CE. Ancient Egyptian is considered to be a branch of the Afro-Asiatic language. But you guys say that that's not an appropriate term. It's not Afro-Asiatic language. Then what is it? But let's continue.
Okay, I have to pause her for there. Like I said, just because I don't want to do unnecessary stuff, and everything she's sharing is what I already said, and this could have been over with. Like if Tiffany and I were on the stream together, she could have asked me that, and I could have answered her, and it would have been done in 10 seconds. It'd have been done. I'd have said yes, I teach that, and then it'd been done. But because I wasn't there when she asked this, and she's making it appear as if I don't teach it, or I may not even know about it or something, like, you all saw how she kind of eased into the question. That's the part that I don't get, and I think that that's kind of, unfortunate. But anyway, what she just said about Afro-Asiatic, so I'm going to pause right here and address that, all right? Because I'm trying to just hit and quit it, y'all, just if y'all haven't figured that out by now. I want to be thorough enough to satisfy her question, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. So let me get back to this. Now remember, she mentioned Afro-Asiatic, and she's asking a question. She kind of making an accusation saying that we say that it's not, or something to that effect, right? So let me explain it to y'all for the gazillionth time. I'm just going to share this with you all. All right. So we're back here. All right. So now, when it comes to Afro-Asiatic, right? We when I say we, I know the brother Asar Imhotep has, and I know the brother Sanjeti has. Us three, we refer to ourselves as the Shemsu Heru research team. All right, us three. We wrote a book giving some preliminary notes together, and we plan to do some more work together. But everybody knows us as being colleagues and comrades of each other, right? We three have constantly for years have spoke about the Afro-Asiatic language phyla as being an invalid or pseudo language phyla. And people went up in arms about that when we first talked about it. And what they tend to do is they quote all these books that mention Afro-Asiatic. And we could do that too. We know about everything that mentions Afro-Asiatic speakers, Afro-Asiatic. And that's normal. That's what scholars do. Scholars will repeat other scholars' work, but not really do the work to see if the scholar is, check behind him and things like that. People will just adopt it over time. And that's just how stuff happens many times. Not all the time, but many times. But anyway, to get to the nitty gritty of it, the Afro-Asiatic language phyla is not a valid genetic family of languages. And the reason why, I'm going to read what you see on the screen right now is from a book called Historical Linguistics and the Comparative Study of African Languages by Gerrit Demendal. And that's his picture there. I added that so people could see who he is. But this is his Picture is not on the cover of the book. So if you're looking for the book, don't his picture's not gonna come with the book. I mean, his picture may be on the back of the book, actually. Okay, but that's him. In this book on page 22, it says, and I'll just read. All right, let me get my cursor so y'all know where I'm at. I'm just gonna read. I hope it's big enough for y'all to see. Yeah, it says the standard classification of African languages as proposed by Greenberg, 1963, and that's Joseph Greenberg, by the way, is based not on the comparative method, but on mass comparison, a method further discussed in chapters 3 and 14. According to Greenberg, the languages spoken on the African continent can be grouped into 4 phyla. Considerable work using the historical comparative method, however, has been carried out on smaller units, all of which were assumed by Greenberg 1963 to be part of the 4 hypothesized language phyla. All right, so let me just stop there. What this is saying, if you're not familiar, in order to determine the relationship between languages, the tool and method to use is called the historical comparative method, and not the mass comparative method. That is not how you do it. Okay? Now, let me just break it down in very simple, common terms with an example. This is the difference between using the historical comparative method versus what Greenberg did, which is to use the mass comparison method. Okay? This is the difference right here. Imagine a room full of 100 people. Okay? A room full of 100 random people. You just invited 100 people, random people off the street into one room. All right? Now, you stand in front of everybody. Everybody's facing the front. You stand in front of everybody. And what you notice on their clothing, on the surface of how they look, their clothing, that there were people with blue shirts on and there were people with red shirts on. All right. And so you notice that. You notice that pattern. And so what you say to the people, you say, hey, everybody with a blue shirt, move to the right side of the room. Everybody with a red shirt, move to the left side of the room. Now, what just happened? What you successfully did was you created 2 groups based on your observation of the colors of their shirt. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Group to the right is blue. Group to the left you call red. So you got blues and you got reds. And if everybody understood that, there's no problem. Now here's where the problem comes. If you do that and then you make a claim and say that everybody with a blue shirt is related and everybody with a red shirt is related to each other, that's when you're lying out your teeth or you're wrong or you're making a false claim. That is what people are doing with the Afro-Asiatic language phyla. Okay, y'all got that? That's what's going on. The mass comparative method only does a surface typological comparison, and it noticed these surface features and started grouping languages up under this umbrella called Afro-Asiatic. And we can even forget the label. It could have been called Oogla Boogla. The name of the name Afro-Asiatic could have been anything, but it's named Afro-Asiatic for whatever reason they had, right? But the languages that they grouped together was not done by using the proper method. Okay, y'all got that? Now, let's go back to my example. In order to make that claim, you would have to do what? You would have to give everybody with a blue shirt on a DNA test. You have to give everybody with a red shirt on a DNA test, and you would have to extract the data from that genome sequence of everybody. Then you make the determination of whether or not people are related, genetically related. You see that? So there's a proper tool to establish relationship, not because of the shirt color they have on, but because of their genetics. So likewise, when it comes to language relationships or genetic relationships of languages, there's a proper tool to use. And that proper tool is the historical comparative method, as y'all can see on the screen, not the mass comparison method. Okay, that's as plain as I can put it. So if I helped you out with that analogy or that example, then I'm happy, because a lot of people are confused about this issue. All right, but that's the simple as I can put it. It's more to it, but that's a good simple analogy to what's going on. And for that reason, the Afro-Asiatic language phyla is not a valid genetic relationship, a family of related languages. It's not. And scholars know this. The actual scholars that do this work know it, but not just any scholar, and not even all linguists deal with it. Remember, linguistics has many subfields. You got computational linguistics, comparative linguistics, cognitive linguistics. You got different fields of linguistics. All right, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, that's him. Now let me continue. So that's this first statement, but let's continue. In the same book, this is coming from page 75 in his book. Let's read it here, because he talks about mass comparison. He said mass comparison or multilateral comparison was already applied by Coeli in 1854, as we saw in chapter 1. But within an African context, it is best known through the scholarly work of one of the most prolific Africanists and linguists of the 20th century, the late Joseph H. Greenberg. In a series of articles on the genetic classification of African languages published between 1949 and 1954 in the Southwestern Journal of Anthropology, and reprinted in book form in 1955, Greenberg divided the languages spoken on the African continent into 16 distinct groups. And these are the 16 that you see right here. All right. Now, I'm going to move from here and I'm going to go to another book. All right. This book right here. This book, as you can see, is called The Handbook of Comparative and Historical Indo-European Linguistics. All right. It's by Jared Klein, Brian Joseph, and Matthias Fritz. Okay. It's a pretty main go-to book that people who are into comparative linguistics, especially dealing with Indo-European linguistics, they deal with this book. Okay. Now, in the book, in the 12th chapter, I believe, which you see on the screen, there's a section, even though the title says a comparative historical Indo-European linguistics, they have a chapter talking about the comparative method in African linguistics. All right. So, and they talk about 4 areas: the background, general problems, references, and recommended reading. But let's just read a couple of lines from here. It says, in the study of African languages, historical linguistics played a most important role already before African linguistics became established as a discipline in its own right. An endless number of studies on language relationship and language classification have since been published, and several attempts were made at reconstructing the history of African language phyla and families. Until the mid-20th century, however, by far the majority of such contributions were based on mixed criteria: economic, cultural, physical, anthropological, and linguistic. But even if purely linguistic criteria were applied, no dividing line was drawn, as a rule, between genetic and typological criteria. So what is that saying? They're saying when it comes to African languages and African linguistics, scholars did not draw a line between genetic and typological criterias. And typological is another way of saying the mass constructive method, which is a method that you don't use to establish relationships. It's the genetic method, which is historical comparative linguistics, which does. But scholars blurred the line. They didn't care either one. And most of them did the typological. All right. Now, to continue, this situation changed with the publication of a series of articles by Joseph Greenberg on African linguistic classifications, a revised version of which appeared later on as a monograph entitled The Languages of Africa in 1963. That's his famous work that everybody's familiar with. In this famous book, the author provided a complete, and they put it in quotes, a complete genetic classification that distinguishes 4 genetic phyla, each containing a number of families and subfamilies. It is this taxonomy that in subsequent years was used most frequently by who? Other scholars as a point of departure. So in other words, people did not check behind Greensburg. They just took what he did and his schema of 4 phyla and depart and went from there forward. You see what happened? Now to keep going. By other scholars as a point of departure for new attempts at classifying African language groups. And that's a problem. Okay, that's a problem. They didn't check behind Greenberg. They just took what he did and then went from there to try to classify new African language groups. All right. But now, however, although Greenberg made exclusive use of, and they got it in quotes, by the way, genetic linguistic criteria, and in spite of the numerous impacts of his investigation on follow-up studies, his classification was what? Not based on the comparative method, but on an approach that Greenberg himself had called mass comparison, and that other scholars referred to as the method of resemblances. Now, if you want, as it says, if you want to know more about how crazy that method is for people to try to argue for the existence of Afro-Asiatic, you can look into a book written by Fodor. I'll get the full title for y'all. In 1982, he did a whole critique on Greenberg's method, mass comparative method. All right. Now let's keep reading real quick. In fact, systematic application of the comparative method has been relatively what? Rare to this day in African linguistics, as will be shown in this section. And so the book goes on and explains that. But what I want to highlight here is that actual linguists, people who actually do this work, they know the problems with Afro-Asiatic. They know what it is and what it's not. It's the lay people that most, that argue about these things, but are not, this is not their area of focus. They don't understand. And people will try to argue up and down about Afro-Asiatic this, Afro-Asiatic that, and they don't know what the data is actually saying. And it's unfortunate, and I don't blame people full stop, because a lot of scholars will do just that. Like this book said, people will assume and accept a scholar's actual work, but never check behind it or whatever the case is, and they'll run with it. And then when it gets cited and quoted over and over again by multiple scholars, it becomes the quote unquote consensus, as people believe. and then people get the wrong idea of what an actual consensus is. All right. So anyway, don't want to dwell on this any more than that, but I just want to show those are just two examples from two separate books where the Afro-Asiatic language phyla is known to be questionable or invalid. All right. And I could show more examples. In fact, Asar Motep has videos on this. All right. So go check out Asar Motep's channel, and I'm sure he has the titles for those videos. So check that out. All right. I just don't want to stay here too long. All right. Let's go back to Tiffany.
It's considered to be a branch of the Afro-Asiatic language family, meaning that ancient Egyptian has similarities to the Akkadian, Arabic, and Hebrew, and it's quite different from Indo-European languages like English, French, and German. 5 stages of the ancient Egyptian language are recognized: Old Egyptian, Middle Egyptian, Late Egyptian, Demonic, and Coptic.
See, I already said all of this, so I'm gonna let her play. But if she I think she's just gonna read all of this, so I'm gonna let it play just so y'all can know and understand that she's just about to repeat everything I said. And I already said I teach this. This is like, like I don't even need any books. I can teach y'all this right now if I had time. I can elaborate on all of this right now. That's how frequently that it comes up. I don't need any books. You can catch me at the mall and I can sit you down and and teach you this stuff.
All right. It said these were written in at least 4 different scripts: hieroglyphs, Hieratic, Demonic, and Coptic. Let's repeat that: hieroglyphs, Hermetic, Demonic, and Coptic. All right. And it goes on to say, ancient Egyptian was first written in hieroglyphic script, which famously utilized signs that look like people, animals, and natural and man-made objects, but actually represent the consonantial and semi-vowel phenomena, groups of phenomena and classifiers. The earliest texts written in hieroglyphs from around 3200 BCE to 2600 BCE consist of names, labels, and short accounts without much grammar. The first state of ancient.
All right, so I'm gonna stop her here because, like I said, she's gonna read all of that and even more. But I've already answered the question, and this is everything is already, we teach this all day, every day. All right, so I don't want y'all to think I'm skipping anything, but I'm just not gonna let she's just gonna read all this to you. So let me skip forward a bit and see if there's anything else. Let me let this play from here and see what happens.
These are legitimate questions that I have to ask. All right, and everybody should ask these questions. Even those who taking classes and spending money, right? They should be asking these type of questions.
Okay, so yeah, here she says they and I agree with her. People should ask questions. I mean, people should ask any question that they have a question about. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If a question, they have a question, they should feel free to ask their questions, and that's what happens. But yeah, everybody that's ever taken a class with me, we discussed this. See, Tiffany has never taken a class or never experienced anything dealing with me teaching about the language. So it sounds like she's assuming I don't do this stuff. And like I said, I've been doing it for over 10 years. So although I get that she's asking, she's making these statements out of not knowing, but for me, it's just kind of crazy though, because it's like so widely known, so widely done by others and myself all the time. So it's just weird, and that's cool. But I just don't the manner in which she's characterizing these questions is again, it's in this kind of adversarial way. I mean, she's not being negative or belligerent in any way whatsoever, which is why I'm addressing it. But it's just that it's set up to be like kind of this adversarial feel to it. And man, we can get so much more. Like I'm telling you, I could answer a question in 10 seconds. She say, "Do you teach that?" Yes, I do. Do you know about the 5 faiths? Yes, I do. I teach that. What are they? Bam, 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 bam. There you go. I mean, done. Should people ask a question? Yeah, and they do. We talk about it. Next. You see what I'm saying? It's like, man, 30 seconds, done. Conversation over with. But I'm going to let it play for a little while longer. Let me see if it was anything else. Because I'm forwarding a bit.
A Middle Egyptian. Hieroglyphs and hereded to some tradition.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. She's going to read this this whole thing that breaks down the 5 phases and even the writing system. You know, you got hieroglyphic, hieratic, demotic, and Coptic, even writing system, the 4. 5 spoken language phases and 4 divisions in the writing system. That's what I mean. That's like such common. Now, as a matter of fact, let me just show y'all from. Let me show you all from. Oh, y'all, you all think I should let her finish her thought? I'm saying if I let this play, we're gonna be reading the people could watch her video. I mean, I've already answered the question. You know, I'm not. But let me just show y'all. I want to show you all something in here when it comes to the actual script. So now we get to the script. So we get to the written language, and hopefully y'all can see that. Again, this is what I've been teaching for 10 years, over 10 years as well. All right, so we get to the writing system. So we talk about hieroglyphic, the formal hieroglyphic, when it was discovered, or one of the oldest attestations of them, which the ivory bone tags found in tomb UJ at Abydos, Abju, and Gunter Dreyer and his team. We always go over that. We always talk about the first one of the earliest attested grammatical features and sentence structures, which is with this image here. Go over that. Per Ibsen, where we see his name. What else? Then we go through cursive hieroglyphics and how that looks. That's the papyrus of Hunefer. That's an example of what's called simplified. Simplified Sesh Medew. We call it simplified Sesh Medew Netcher, but they call cursive hieroglyphic, but it's no cursiveness to it. I don't know why scholars do that. Go over that. Then we go over hieratic. You see that there. Then we always go over demotic, and you see an image there. Then we go over Coptic, and that's an example of Coptic. Pinyot eth impe eth in impu marep bekran up. That's our Father who art in the skies. And I know I butchered the pronunciation. But anyway, so this is known, this is taught. I've been teaching this for over 10 years again. So I'm just showing y'all the example. So I'm saving y'all time, saving myself time, instead of playing her full, because she's just gonna read all that from a website that she's on, University of Chicago. That's what she's reading from. All right, so I'm gonna let her play.
Additional religious text is written in a more familiar script. But why not speak on Coptic? Why not go there? Because Coptic is the modern language that's still around.
Okay, let me answer that question. The reason why, I'm gonna answer for me. The reason why I don't speak on about Coptic too much, but I do tell people that if people want to learn a living variation of the ancient Egyptian language, I tell people to go learn Coptic. I even give people videos. I have 12 lessons on Coptic. I don't teach it, but I have 12 video lessons that are taught by somebody else that I provide for people who are interested in Coptic. So Coptic is not strange. It's not this taboo to me at all. But here's why we don't focus on Coptic, or I don't focus on Coptic, because the actual texts that we deal with are not written in Coptic. So it's like a duh. We don't deal with texts that are written in Coptic. We primarily deal with texts that are written in Middle Egyptian. Okay? The Tale of the Shipwrecked Sailor, all the underworld texts, the Book of Caverns, the Book of Heavenly Cow, the Book of Destruction of Mankind, what is in the Amduat, the Book of Earth, all of these texts that everybody talk about, the Shabaka Stone, the creation story, all these things. It's not written in Coptic. Okay, or the creation stories, plural, excuse me, the pyramid text. All of these things, none of them are written in Coptic. Okay, Coptic was used very late in ancient Egyptians' history. And most of the Coptic texts that are in Coptic are dealing with Christianity. So that's the short and skinny, simple answer of why we do not focus on Coptic. But I'm not against people learning it. In fact, I got lessons on it, video lessons that I share with people to learn it if they're interested in it. You know? And it would be a nice exercise. I plan to deal with it, just not at this point in time. All right, so let me let her say some more, and then I'll probably
and
take some questions.
from
I'll
what
probably
I
check
read
out
of
the
a
chat.
long time ago, Coptic ain't gonna be around for that long because the reason why it's not gonna be around for that long, because again, it's only used in religious texts. It's not a spoken language. It's not an official language anymore. The official language that is spoken in Egypt is Arabic, what they call Egyptian Arabic.
Here's the conundrum, or like what's seeming a contradiction among scholars, not Tiffany, but scholars. On one hand, they'll say the ancient Egyptian language is a dead language, but then on the other hand, they'll say Coptic is still being spoken by the Coptic Christian Church in Egypt to this very day, and they call Coptic the last phase of the Egyptian language. So it seems contradictory, right? Where, okay, if Coptic is the last phase of the language and it's still being spoken today, then why are you saying the ancient Egyptian language is dead? And I go into that in my classes. I talk about that, and I explain why scholars do that. All right, I'm not gonna do that now. It'll take too much time, but I do that anyway. Let her play a little bit longer. Then I'm gonna pay attention to the chat because I don't want this to be too long. Because I don't want I want Tiffany to see the answers because it's really quick. I mean, I didn't even have to be this long. Really, tell you the truth. I could just really be yes or no answers to her questions, really. Maybe next time, Tiffany and I can do a live together where she could ask me, and it will go a lot smoother and faster, where she don't have to make any assumptions.
But something to think about, boy. Just give me one moment, okay?
I think let me pass it because she paused. She had to do something. Let's see. Yeah. Then she comes back.
And I know some of y'all out there talking about, oh, yeah, you pointing to the white folks. Oh, you pointing to those white people over here. Well, why you gonna go over there to the white folks? Oh, but I'm gonna show you something. But a lot of your Medew teachers, right? They learn from white people. They took some white people information, right? Joseph Greensburg. Well, I mean, although he wasn't considered white technically, he was Jewish, but they was reading on his work.
All right, so I'm gonna stop her here because now she goes into white or black scholars, and see, real like scholars don't do that. Like, it's about the work. It's not about the whether a person is identified as white or black. It's about the quality of the work. And she's wrong, though, about white scholars and this, that, and the third, because everybody and their mother knows that between myself, Asar Imhotep, and Brother Sanjeti, especially Asar Imhotep, he's the one that introduced to the whole conscious community, or circus community, as I call it, a lot of black scholars, African scholars, whether African-centered here, or on the continent, degreed. I mean, you go to Asar Imhotep's channel, and he's interviewing these folks. But this is what happens, though. When we do that, or when Asar does it, then these African scholars, they're discredited, and they're called fringe scholars. And then people want to be like, well, is that the consensus? Why is that scholar not saying something that another scholar says? And no. It's the opposite. So it's like you cannot win for losing. It's like no matter what you do. And see, that's unfortunate. So anyway, that is enough of that's all I'm going to answer for Sister Tiffany. Shout out to the Sister Tiffany, and maybe I'll check out more of her video, and I'll pull some other questions that I feel that are that need to be answered. Other than that, I just want to address those couple of things. And by the way, I didn't know that she did this video. Just to let y'all know, somebody sent me the link because my name is mentioned, or I don't know how they got it, or they must have saw it or whatever. But they sent it to me and I checked it out. So, but I didn't check out all her video. I only checked out the first 30, 40 minutes, the first 40 minutes of her video. And that's about where we are in her video. I think. Let me let
and if you want to talk about Shank Auntie Diop and Theophile Banga, they read on the work of Europeans people. And
yeah, but see, that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, scholarship is about demonstration and evidence. No matter who does it, and it's the quality of the work. Black people can be wrong just as much as white people could be wrong. Black people could be right just as much as white people could be right. The accuracy of someone's information is not a social classification thing, a racial thing. It's not a genetic thing. It's a methodological thing. And did you use the proper method that's required for your research question to have the right outcome of the process, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's just it. I mean, all that stuff is irrelevant in terms of when people want to put a white scholar against a black scholar. That's silly to me. All right, so I appreciate that, not Miss Tiffany, but Tiffany, because there's another Miss Tiffany I said, but I appreciate that Sister Tiffany, and hope you're doing all good. All right, so I'm gonna take her off the screen, and we're gonna get back to. Let me get to the chat. So I'm gonna see what's going on in the chat for a bit, and then I'm gonna end this, and that's pretty much it. Let's see what can I do to get back over to the chat. Oh yeah, I'll have this on the screen while I'm talking to y'all. All right, y'all see the white book in the corner, in the bottom left corner? That is the grammar book I will be publishing once I'm done. I am not done yet with it, but that is the first iteration of it. But it's not ready to be published as of yet. And I'm not even putting a date on it, because I'm way behind from the date that I originally gave myself. So I don't even do that to myself anymore. All right. But it's going to be titled, that's the title. It's going to be Ancient Egyptian Orthography and Grammar, a synchronic descriptive grammar of older Egyptian. All right. Just so y'all know. And on the cover, you see Sesh Medew Netcher, which is the writing system. And then you see RanyKemet, which is the spoken language. Both of those are being taught. All right, so let me check out the chat. So shout out to anybody who's tuning in. Like I know it's Saturday, it's late. I'm going to scroll up as far as I can go. And if any of y'all, but listen, if any of y'all have had questions and it seemed like I ignored you, I was not watching the chat. So I'm looking at the chat now, and y'all can feel free to ask your questions. I'm going to go back as far as I can to allow me to scroll up. And I see you got Facts Over Personality in the house. Christopher Withers. Sheffrin. What's good, Sheffrin? Jehudi Ma'at. Mika is in the house. Kofi Paisa TV is in the house. Sheffrin ain't waste no time. Sheffrin came in with, did the ancient Egyptians call themselves black? I knew Sheffrin or somebody was going to ask that question. I said, watch me go live and somebody bring it. Even though I'm not even talking about that, somebody going to bring it up. So Sheffrin, I'm going to save that question for later. I got something cooked. I got something baking in the oven for all of that. All that noise, believe you me, I got something for all of that noise. All right. So don't worry about that. I mean, I got you. Let's see what else. Jay Shooter. What was the Egyptian language called before the name Kemet was created? What was the ancient Egyptian language called? That's a very good question. The name of the Egyptian language that we know as RanyKemet, that is attested in a couple of texts. One that I can recall from memory is the Tale of Sinuhe or Sinuhat. It's in that text, and it's talking about people who speak a language, from Kemet. And what we do know as far as the spoken language, we have different words for language or the utterances and things like that prior to that. But it was referring to the mouth. We have like even the very phrase for the Book of the Dead. We have the phrase is Rauniyu Paret Imheru. Rau being the plural form of that which comes out the mouth, because the word for mouth is Ra, right? Or in Coptic, this is for Tiffany, it's Ro, but we say it's Ra in Middle Egyptian. RanyKemet, and Ra'u is those things that come out of the mouth. So it's utterances. People translate it as utterances. Ra'u niyu paret imheru, the utterances for coming forth by day. All right. And so you have those words. You have medut, which are words. Medew or medut, words. You have the word jed, which is to say, and things like that. And you have jed medew, words spoken, and things like that. Some people will use those phrases as if it's the name of the language prior to RanyKemet. So I'm just giving you all the possibilities. But there's no way to say that Egyptians said, hey, let's call our language this. They didn't do that. But we can extract and say, okay, Jed Medew would be, a way of saying the language, word spoken. That's it, word spoken. But it's word spoken by the Egyptians, which would be Kemet. Now, mind you, Kemet, as a toponym, did not come into existence for the name of the country did not become the name of the country until the 11th dynasty. But obviously, the word Kemet existed pretty much all throughout Kemet's history. But it did not, the country wasn't named Kemet or referred to as Kemet until the 11th dynasty. All right, so just so you know, I'm just giving you a time frame. All right, let's keep going. Room for debate is in the house. So the Emicat, it says, okay, people must have been asking questions prior to that. All right. Moyo, brother Sundiata. Falaitis says, good example of this. Oh, I'm not sure what he's referring to. Probably appeal to authority. If I had to guess, Falaitis, you could correct me if I'm wrong. You probably typed that when I was talking about appeal to authority, because that's definitely true for the good elder Clyde Winters. Let's see, anything else? I'm just going down the list, y'all, and I'm trying to just do this as quick as possible. Boom is saying, I never see any of that energy given to oppressors. It's always towards people facing the same oppression as them. Okay, I'm not sure. Yes, you all having conversations among yourselves. Let's see. Let's keep going. Oh, Mika says she wants to know where you got it from. Where I got what from? Don't know. Okay, Room for Debate says, who judges the validity of a source? Any source that's used, or if you cite a source, here's the thing. I can say, and I use this example all the time. I can make a claim right now to y'all that aliens built the pyramids of Giza. That's my claim. Aliens built the pyramids of Giza. The way that the circus community operates is that my claim is on point if all I have to do is find a source that says the same thing. So I'm going to Google aliens built a pyramid, and I'm going to come back with about 50 search results that's going to agree with me, that's going to say the same thing. You got the website Gaia, you got those ancientalien.com websites or whatever. They're all going to say what I just said. So what I'll do is I'll look it up. I'll put my Google Chrome browser on there. I will share my screen, and then I will show my source. Does that make me right? Does that make my claim right? The answer is no. This is basic. Basic research techniques and methodology that you do not do. Everyone should be aware of this. Just because you show or you cite something does not make it right. That's not inherent in doing that. And I'm sorry if people think otherwise. It's a shame if you think otherwise, but I can't do anything for you. Now, I'm not saying for people, or I'm not trying to diminish source citing sources. Because for people to cite sources, period, at least it shows that people put an effort in to do some kind of research. But it doesn't stop there. Because you have to, citing a source doesn't validate, prove your claim. It just doesn't prove your claim in and of itself. All right, because now we have a video on our channel, and I hope RanyKemet can find it and put a link in there, where we talk about primary sources, secondary sources, and tertiary sources. We did a video on this about 4 years ago. I would suggest people to look at that, where we talk about the different type of sources that people can use and the difference. Which one is more value? Primary source is what you want to go after. All right, primary source and primary evidence. And there's different types of evidence: circumstantial evidence, hearsay evidence, commentary. People use commentary as evidence. I mean, come on. I mean, so these are basic things, So anyway, so when you ask who judges the validity of the source, it all depends. It all depends on the subject matter. It depends on the source itself, and all kind of that. So I can't really give you an answer, just generic like that. Let's see. Keep going. Let's see. I'm gonna keep on going. I'm going out of this, y'all. Going out of this. Keep on going. I see conversations. Sarah Sutton. Okay, yeah. Matter of fact, Monica Lamb has taken my class in the past, way in the past, and she says she's not even around all the time, and she knows that. Yep. What she say? Whoop whoop. Yep, I know she hears. She's like whoop whoop. Yep, old Egyptian, Middle Egyptian. Lady Egyptian, Demotic, and Coptic. Whoop whoop. That's what Bo will say. Yep, and she took the class a long time ago, and I bet you she still know that. Anyway, let's keep going. Metro customer says she's about to attempt to catch you guys in a gotcha moment. Yeah, I can't stand when people try to do that. Man, it's just waste of time. Judy says, "Is this from today?" No, let me see. What's the date on her video? May 1st. So I'm late. It's May 8th. She did that a while ago. I didn't know anything about it. All right, I didn't know anything about it. So I'm just not picking up on it. Mike Tython. Mike Tython. All right, peace to the chat. I'm trying to scroll fast, y'all. Let's see. Keep going down. See if there's any question. All right, now we got Brother James, Pan-African Designs. He said, "This is real weak of you, Wujao." That's typical of James at this point. "Why don't you pull up the other scholars who's made several videos about you and tell us why they're all wrong?" What scholars, James? Mention them. And where are your videos? And please don't mention who I think you're going to mention. That's your scholar. All right, so James, if you still listening in, name names. Anybody got a time to play games, James? Name names, James. I'm not playing games. Y'all see I spit those bars? I'm telling y'all, I'm going to get a contract. But anyway, for real, James, name names. Because I don't know, why would you say it's real weak of me? What? Listen. And see, this is the adversarial nature. See, this is what I'm talking about. So, James, you are actually demonstrating what I spoke about earlier. Look at how you word this. This is real weak of you, Wujao. Like you crying. This is real weak of you, Wujao. Why don't you pull up other scholars who made several, he put several in capital letters, videos about you and tell us why they're all wrong? And I'm emphasizing the words that he put in caps, right? But check this out. What is real weak of me for addressing the sister's questions on a video I didn't even know about? I'm actually going out my way to do this. I didn't know the sister did a video and asked questions of me or whatever the case is. And so you're saying, why don't I pull up other scholars who made several videos? I don't know any scholars that made videos about me. I don't know any other scholars. If you're talking about YouTubians, then, name your names, man. Name names. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you the link if you have some questions. All right? Y'all gotta, I don't know what's going on, man, in the circus community, boy. It's a circus out there. I'm scrolling down, y'all. I'm scrolling down. Majay El Boabab, Hotep. Got him in the house. All right, look like I'm at the bottom now. I'm looking at the bottom. I'm at the bottom. All right, let's see. Boom says, yeah, you can get a contract. You can get a contract and have Shaka and Dougal produce your beats. Oh. I don't know what that means. I mean, I don't know Shaka made beats or nothing. I don't know. Oh, when I spit some lyrics, yeah. James playing games, name names. You talking about that? That's my attempt to rap. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be a rapper. I'm an aspiring rapper. I want to be a rapper, and I gotta say it like that, a rapper. A rapper. I ain't gonna say MC. I'm gonna be a rapper. Cause rappers seem to get all the props. Anything else? I'm at the bottom, so I guess. Hey, this is it. So y'all tell me. I appreciate y'all hanging out, but let me know. Y'all let me know if if at least the questions that she asked that I answered, to you all's satisfaction, because she may watch this. I'm sure somebody priority inboxed her. That's how news be spreading. It didn't come to me. Like I said, she did her video on the first. I didn't even know it. And I got it. I could have let more of it play since me rambling on right now. But anyway, so, but all right, so enough of that. So, shout out to Sister Tiffany again. I addressed at least the first 30 minutes of your video and the questions that you had within that time space. So just to recap real quick, you asked about the phases of the language. Now you read it, so you're not asking to learn about it because you already read it. You read it to yourself. So so your question was whether I teach it or to something to that effect. And the answer is yes. And that's a quick answer. The answer is yes. I've been teaching about that for over 10 years. I teach about the language, all aspects of the language, the morphology, the syntax, the writing system, and everything. All right, I do all of that. And I've been doing that. All right, so the answer is yes to that. You mentioned Afro-Asiatic. I addressed that a bit, gave people a couple of books to reference to find out more about that. And so, I even gave the example of what Afro-Asiatic really is. It's a typological mass comparison as a result of that, and not the historical comparative method, which is important. And when I say that, it may not mean anything to anybody unless you're familiar with it, and I get it. Just because I said, hey, the historical comparative method is the method used, you may not even know what that is. So it's like, all right, whatever. But that's why I gave my example, because everybody and their mother understands paternity tests. If you want to prove that you are either you are the parent of a child or you're not the parent of a child, are they going to look at your T-shirt to do that, or are they going to sequence your genetic your genome? Which one? Y'all tell me. Which one are they going to do to determine family relationships? I'm talking about biological family relationships. What are they going to do? Are they going to look at your T-shirt color, or are they going to swab a sample and sequence your genome? Which one are they going to do? Y'all tell me right now. Matter of fact, let me put the chat on the screen. Y'all tell me the answer. What's the answer? If you wanted, like, if you were tracking down your family tree, right? Let's say you were adopted. Let's say somebody who's adopted, and they were trying to find their real parents, to find their real family, their biological family, as we call it. Are they going to look at the colored T-shirts that people wear, or are they going to look in the genes, the DNA? And I don't see y'all answering me. Must be a big delay on here. But the answer is they're going to look at the DNA. Well, guess what? Languages work the same way, except it's not biological. It's morphological. It's units of meaning, little small, and it's phonological. It's phonological and morphological. And we call phonological sound, phones are sounds, phonemes deal with sound, and we have morph and morphemes. So it's the phoneme or the phone morph relationship or the phoneme morpheme relationship, but we term it sound meaning correspondences. Sound, phone, meaning, morpheme, correspondences. A morpheme is the smallest unit of meaning in any given language. And so those things are compared, and you have to establish regular sound meaning correspondences. Regular is the key word. A pattern of regular sound meaning correspondence between two or more languages. If you're able to do that, then you can move forward into proposing cognates and things like that, and so on and so forth. It's an entire process to that. He said, did the ancient Egyptians have child support? Not that I know of, but I've never like looked into anything as specific as that. I don't know if you're being funny or not, but you know, I haven't looked into much of that. But I can tell you this about marriage, though. Marriage was a very different institution in ancient Egypt than it started off here in the United States, and things, and women's rights in ancient Egypt. You'd be surprised at how many rights that women had in ancient Egypt compared to the struggles that women had in modern times. Even still to this day, maybe not in the United States, but elsewhere. So, but child support, not familiar with child. I mean, in the traditional, in the modern sense of child support, where you get taken to court and you know, all that stuff. Anything else, y'all? Anything else? Oh, he says he's looking into it right now. Oh, okay. Well, let me know what you find, Medew. Let me know what you find. Let me know what you find. But yeah, I guess it's the end of the road. I've been on for an hour and 52 minutes. I got 8 more minutes. I'm gonna stop at exactly 2 hours. So we got eight more minutes together, y'all. So shoot me any other commentary or questions you might have. Any other commentary or questions you may have. Now, people talking about whether Egyptians are black. I say this every time, all the time, man. I think that entire topic is retarded. I said it when Chief X brought it back up late last year, early this year, whatever. And then every conversation after that is retarded. And I know why people do it. And this is my new label for people to do that. Because people use the word blackologist, right? But people are really anachronists. That's what people are really doing. They're performing anachronism, and they're hunters. And what people are doing, they're hunting for any and everything to be called black. Because it's this void, vacuum, and need for people to try to make everything black. And I know, and I can guarantee you that people do not know what it means to be black, in trying to equate other people in antiquity, other people and things, as being black. And I'm going to show and prove all of that. But I'm going to do so in writing. Instead of, the YouTubians and people who are just chatting and stuff like that. You can't microwave that topic. So y'all be on the lookout. Everybody will be known about that Ujau style. Where people going to learn. You're going to learn something today. I'm going to learn you. Not today, though, but I'm saying y'all going to get it. It's going to be a lesson. All right, a very thorough one. Boom. Okay, for all you trolls out there, I would like to say the ancient Egyptians were black like you and me. Oh, boy. I'm going to tell you, people don't know what they mean when they call themselves black. 42 Tribes says, Egypt didn't even have basic money to pay child support with. Maybe a goat and some grain. Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely don't think that the brother was assuming money like that. You know, they did have silver and things. Hedge is the word for white, but it's also a word for silver. And nebu, gold, silver and gold, silver and gold. And then trading, barter and trade, cattle, grains. People were taxed, so they did have a form of they did have a monetary system. It wasn't quite like ours, but they were taxed, and things like that. So, Medew, share whatever you find. Share it. Make sure you share it. Brother Booksy, all the way from the UK. Bess and Tawarat, you said once you were going to address as them not being a part of Egyptian pantheon or something to that effect. No, Bess, when we say pantheon, that's not true. Bess and Tawaret are deities in ancient Egypt. Both of them dealt with childbirth as well. It's just that people are taking Bess to be a foreign deity, being utilized in ancient Egypt or something to that effect. If that's what you mean, but they were definitely part of Egyptian culture. Bess was usually had twofold functions, and one of the main ones, the popular ones, is as a protector. So he was during birthing rituals at the birthing chambers and things like that. You'll see them, Bess and Tawarat. All right, but other than that, if you want to go further into Bess and the different texts where he's mentioned and stuff like that, we could do that. Not now, but we could do that. Not at this very moment, but we could do that. Not a problem. Yes, indeed. Anything else? Got 3 minutes, y'all. 3 minutes. 333 is the magic number. Yes, it is. It's the magic number. There's a reason why 3 is the magic number, y'all. Anyway, Majay says there's currently a 25th Dynasty exhibition at the Louvre Museum in Paris. It's called Pharaon des Deux. I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce these words. Which means pharaohs of the two lands in English. Oh, pharaohs of the two lands. Okay. That's nice. Now, I can tell you this. What I don't like about the 25th Dynasty exhibitions, and people talk about it, they call them the Nubian pharaohs, or they say the black pharaohs of Egypt. And y'all already know how my stance on all of that. Yep. My stance on the whole black conversation should be really clear. I don't know why people get surprised. I don't know why people get surprised at that. The whole black thing. Why you call yourself black? What people need to do, I'm going to give y'all some homework. Everybody that's listening to me right now, this is what you should do. Of course, I can't make you do it, but this is what you should do. If you call yourself black, if you're one of those people that call yourself black, ask yourself why. Why do you do that? And try to dig and come up with a list of answers or a list of reasons. Do that. And then if you don't mind, we can convene and you could share that. I'll be curious about that. Why do you self-identify as being black? What does that mean to you? Like, why? Ask yourself. And don't be all quick with yourself. Don't be like, I'm black because I'm black. Nah, but dig in. Dig into that and ask yourself that. Why? Is it because, did you did you acquiesce to something like just a natural adoption of saying it because other people did? Or did you ever give it any real thought? Did you ever give it any real thought? And I'm sure none of nobody gonna do that, but I'm putting it out there. Anyway, it's been 2 hours, y'all. So, yeah, Bucksy, yeah, we could do that. Yep, we could do that. All right. So, that's my time, y'all. It's 2 hours on the nose, and I appreciate y'all tuning in. And again, shout out to Tiffany. Hopefully, she'll see this video, and I'll make sure she see a link to it. But hopefully, she'll watch it, I should say, and to see the question I did answer. And that any other questions that somebody will have for me, I mean, it's just best to just ask and not really do a long thing. Medew, which I keep looking into, but so far it seems that single moms were kind of screwed in ancient Egypt, especially when resources were scarce. There were no strong, independent black women or any women back then. All right, well, hey, let's dig some more. Let us know what you find. Let us know what you find. Okay, so Tony's already answering. He says, because I have a mirror and a brain. Oh, okay. So, Tony, on the mirror part, before I go, on the mirror part, the fact that you said mirror, right? Let me show you something. The fact that you said mirror, you're implying and you're telling us that this is how you look. Right there. So when you look in the mirror, that's what you see. What you see on the screen right now. That's what your mirror reflection look like. That's what you're telling us. That's why you call yourself black. Because remember, mirror deals with eyesight and what you look like. So you're telling us that you call yourself black because you look like what I'm showing on the screen. And Tony, you said no. Then that can't be the reason. So let's go to the next one. You said a brain. Well, all humans, all healthy humans have a brain. So that can't be the reason. This is what I'm saying. So Tony, don't rush the answers. Really give this some thought. All right. I'm not asking to be funny. I'm not asking as if, you're going to come up with you're going to shoot from the hip and give a quick answer. That's not why I'm asking. All right. I want you to think it through. All right. I'm trying to make people think now. Really think about why you self-identify as black. He said my brain is a little lighter. Anyway, all right, but I'm gonna say Shimon, I appreciate y'all hanging out, and of course I'm gonna keep this up. But we have a new series of shows called the Sesh Snackables, where we go over aspects of the language culture in a nice, brief, compact, concise way. No more than an hour long video, and so make sure you tune in for that. And all right, so with that, I'm gonna say be safe out there, and Shimon Hotep.
To say that when you go to Kemet school, you became more alert. You more wake up. Your spirit wake up, and you became a more human being. That's your character is built in a school. classical studies, we must know Medew Netcher. You see, maybe in the future we need to know some Meroitic too. We need to know Medew Netcher. The most achievement in Kemet for me is education. The way they think, they build, and they practice their education is very unique in history. Without education, I believe there will be no Kemet.